Did y'all see some of the heat that Tracee Ellis Ross was facing online about how she chose to memorialize Malcolm?
A question that seemed harmless on the surface ignited a wave of debates, speculation, and even harsh accusations. Hollywood has never been short of shocking secrets, but few could have imagined that a funeral, a place meant for mourning and honoring, would become the center of such an uproar. When Malcolm Jamal Warner, the legendary Theo Huxtable of The Cosby Show, passed away suddenly, the whole world was stunned and grieved. Yet what truly set the public ablaze was not only his death, but a strange absence at the funeral, the complete non-appearance of Tracee Ellis Ross, fashion queen, feminist icon, the powerful face of Blackish, and the cryptic tribute she posted on her personal page. Why didn't Tracee attend? Was there a hidden conflict, an untold secret, or was it all just speculation amplified to extremes by social media? Trust me, you won't want to take your eyes off this story. Watch until the end of this video to uncover the truth behind the shockwave that has Hollywood buzzing non-stop. But first, before diving into the rumors surrounding the funeral, let's take a step back. Who exactly is Tracee Ellis Ross? Why has she become a cultural icon in Hollywood? And what connection tied her name so suddenly to the death of Malcolm Jamal Warner? This is the key to truly understanding the entire story. Two stars who redefined standards in Hollywood. If one had to choose two faces that embody resilience, creativity, and authenticity in American entertainment, many would name Tracee Ellis Ross and Malcolm Jamal Warner. Though they began from very different places, they shared one common trait neither accepted being in someone else's shadow. One was the daughter of legendary diva Diana Ross, the other the boy who once played Theo in the beloved sitcom The Cosby Show. Yet through determination, talent, and wise choices, both rewrote Hollywood's standards for a new generation. Tracee Ellis Ross, born in 1972, grew up in the glow of Diana Ross but refused to lean on that legacy. A graduate of Brown University, she worked as a stylist and fashion editor before pursuing acting. In the sitcom, Girlfriends 2000-2008, Tracee portrayed Joan Clayton, a successful lawyer filled with contradictions and desires. Across 8 years, she became a screen icon for Black women, showing audiences real layered portrayals of life rather than stereotypes. After Girlfriends, Ross left an even greater mark with Blackish 2014-2022, a socially conscious family sitcom. There she played Dr. Rainbow Johnson, a mother both funny and thoughtful, navigating issues of race, culture, and parenting. The role made her the first Black woman in 30 years to receive an Emmy nomination for lead actress in a comedy. 2016, earned her a Golden Globe in 2017, and won her multiple NAACP Image Awards. For Ross, acting was not just a profession but a mission to tell authentic stories, inspire others, and amplify women's voices. Ross also became a fashion icon known for bold outfits and traditional Afro hairstyles. In 2020, she received the Fashion Icon Award at the People's Choice Awards. More importantly, she used her influence to advocate for community, for women, and for the right to live authentically. "I dress for myself, not to please anyone else," she once declared, turning her fashion sense into a manifesto of individuality. Malcolm Jamal Warner, by contrast, was born in 1970 in New Jersey, and became famous much earlier. At just 14, he beat out hundreds of contenders to play Theo Huxtable in The Cosby Show, 1984-1992. The series was a global phenomenon, averaging 30 million viewers per episode, and his performance earned him a 1986 Emmy nomination. But fame as a teenager meant living under a heavy shadow, and Warner spent his career proving he was more than the Cosby Kid. He chose challenging paths, from the sitcom Malcolm and Eddie, 1996-2000, to weightier roles in Sons of Anarchy and The Resident, where he portrayed Dr. A.J. Austin the Raptor, a sharp and commanding presence. Alongside acting, Warner pursued music and spoken-word poetry. He formed the band Miles Long, released the jazz-funk album Love and Other Social Issues 2007, won a Grammy in 2015 for a spoken-word performance honoring the Sandy Hook victims, and published the poetry album Hiding in Plain View 2022, which earned a Grammy nomination. For Warner, music and poetry were not hobbies, they were outlets to speak on society, love, and the struggles of the Black community. What made both Tracee and Malcolm exceptional in the eyes of their peers was character. Ross was remembered for her strength and determination to define herself, while Warner was admired as a calm, kind, and empathetic man. Many friends called him one of the rare good men in Hollywood. These qualities sustained his 4-decade-long career and won him respect across the industry. Looking at their parallel journeys, one sees a shared truth. Both Ross and Warner navigated difficult crossroads to escape long shadows, one of a legendary mother, the other of a legendary role. Together, they proved that Black artists need not stand on the margins but can instead set new standards. Standards of diversity, creative freedom, and the courage to live authentically. The relationship between Tracee Ellis Ross and Malcolm Jamal Warner. When two major stars meet on screen, sometimes they pass through each other's lives merely as colleagues. But for Tracee Ellis Ross and Malcolm Jamal Warner, their collaboration sparked a lasting bond that extended well beyond the set. In 2011, BET launched the sitcom Read Between the Lines. The story followed the life of a modern Black family in Atlanta. Carla Reed, a brilliant busy psychologist, and her husband Alex Reed, a literature professor who stayed home to raise their children. They represented a fresh model of family life, equal, warm, and balanced between career and home. Tracee Ellis Ross was cast as Carla, while Malcolm Jamal Warner played Alex. When they appeared together on screen, audiences were immediately captivated by their natural chemistry. From their gazes, smiles, and conversations, to simple family scenes around the dinner table, they radiated authenticity, so much so that many viewers believed they were a real couple off-screen. Ross once admitted that on her first day meeting Malcolm on set, she couldn't hide her excitement. "I watched him on The Cosby Show all through my childhood. It's surreal that now I get to act alongside him." For Warner, long grown past his days, as Theo working with Ross, meant finding a co-star who was both intelligent and passionate, bringing positive energy to every shoot. Critics noted that their pairing was what gave Read Between the Lines its special appeal. Some journalists even called the show a modern version of The Cosby Show, since the duo created an ideal image of a 21st century family. Yet the life of an artist is full of turns. After the first season, Tracee Ellis Ross unexpectedly announced her departure to pursue other projects. While fans were disappointed, her relationship with Malcolm remained untouched. In fact, their professionalism and genuine friendship allowed them to stay in touch, sharing about life and career, even without working together. Warner carried on as Alex Reed in Season 2, but without Carla's presence, the show lost some of its charm. By 2015, Read Between the Lines was officially canceled, though the legacy of Carla and Alex still lingered in viewers' hearts. Outside of television, Ross and Warner were often photographed together at events and joined forces in community activities. Ross affectionately referred to Warner as "my first TV husband." That phrase captured not just their on-screen bond, but also the depth of a long-standing friendship. Warner too often spoke in interviews about his admiration for Ross's intelligence, independence, and kind heart. What stood out most about their relationship was its balance. They never fueled romance rumors, nor did they brand themselves as a Hollywood power couple. Instead, Ross and Warner nurtured a simple friendship built on respect, support, and appreciation as peers from the same generation. That's why when Warner suddenly passed away in July 2025, Ross wrote on Instagram, "You were my first TV husband. I love you, Malcolm. My heart is broken." Her words were not just a farewell to a co-star, but a sobbing goodbye to a soulmate lost. For Ross, Warner was more than just a memory of a role. He was proof of a career chapter filled with friendship and growth. And for Warner, Ross was the partner who helped him embody a modern Black family on screen, offering American audiences a fresh perspective. They weren't lovers on magazine covers, nor a headline-making Hollywood couple. But to fans, Ross and Warner will forever be Carla and Alex Reed, a symbol of love, friendship, and mutual respect on television. But then everything changed. The sudden death of Malcolm Jamal Warner. It was a summer morning in late July 2025 when news from Costa Rica began to spread. The headlines seemed almost impossible to believe. Malcolm Jamal Warner dies at 54. For many viewers, that name was tied to childhood memories, to the laughter of The Cosby Show, to the calm, steady presence in The Resident. Yet in a single moment, it was all brought to an end by a tragic accident at sea. According to local police, Warner had been vacationing with his wife and young daughter on the Caribbean coast of Limon, Costa Rica. He went swimming in the morning while the tide was strong. Powerful rip currents pulled him far from shore. Although rescue teams reached him quickly, Warner had already suffered drowning before he could be brought back. The autopsy later confirmed the cause: asphyxiation by submersion. A sudden death, no warning, no prior illness. Within hours, Warner's body was taken to the local morgue for official procedures before being returned to the United States as per his family's wishes. Once the news was confirmed, Hollywood was shaken. American television had lost a familiar face of more than 4 decades, while audiences felt as if they had lost a family member. Warner was more than an actor. He had grown up on screen in front of the public. From the quick-witted Theo Huxtable of the 1980s to the model father of modern television, he had become part of collective memory. The first reactions came from close colleagues. Angela Bassett, his co-star in 911, wrote that she was so stunned I couldn't breathe, calling Warner a man of quiet strength and singular light. Viola Davis admitted she was frozen, unable to speak, while Beyoncé dedicated the homepage of her website to the words, "Rest in power, Malcolm Jamal Warner. Thank you for being part of television history." These were not polite soundbites, but heartfelt cries from fellow artists who had shared the journey with him. Fans around the world also poured out their grief. Social media flooded with old photos, clips from The Cosby Show, read between the lines, and The Resident. One viewer wrote, "I grew up with Theo. It feels like I've just lost an older brother." Others shared that Warner was the reason they believed black actors could succeed on television without fitting outdated stereotypes. He wasn't a superhero or an action star, he was simply a kind, genuine, ordinary young man. And that was exactly why he was so beloved. Warner's death was not only a personal loss for his family, but also a cultural shock. In the days that followed, media outlets worldwide ran tributes reflecting on his nearly 40-year career. Many noted that Warner had died in his professional prime, with several projects still unfolding. His podcast, Not All Hood, launched in 2024 to explore the experiences of the black community, had just begun gaining a steady audience. His music and spoken word projects were still evolving. Everything ended abruptly, leaving a void that cannot be filled. During those days, Hollywood was steeped in mourning. TV networks replayed classic episodes of The Cosby Show and Read Between the Lines. Talk shows dedicated segments to remembering him. People recalled Theo's most famous lines, the emotional performances of the Raptor in The Resident, the jazz-funk rhythms he played with his band Miles Long. Together, these formed a rich legacy, proving that Warner was not just a childhood star, but a versatile artist who lived fully for his craft. His passing brought deep reflection. It reminded us that death can come suddenly, even to those who feel immortal in the public's memory. It highlighted Warner's lasting influence, from the laughter he brought on sitcoms to the words of poetry in his albums to the quiet kindness he embodied in real life. His death, therefore, was not just an ending, but also a reminder to future generations of the power of art and character. Amid the grief, talk of Tracee Ellis Ross and her connection to Warner's funeral began to surface, fueling debate. But before delving into the rumors, one truth remains most important. Malcolm Jamal Warner is gone, yet he left behind an indelible legacy. And that is why his death became a shared sorrow for both the artistic community and audiences across the globe. The unexpected response of Tracee Ellis Ross. Amid the countless condolences from colleagues, fans, and the press, Tracee Ellis Ross's tribute to Malcolm Jamal Warner became one of the most heartfelt farewells. Without flowery words or lengthy paragraphs, she wrote just a few short lines that carried immeasurable grief. "I love you, Malcolm. I first met you when the world knew you as Theo, and then you became my first husband on television. My heart is broken. I send love to your family. I'm so sorry for this unimaginable loss." Beneath a photo of the two sitting side by side, Malcolm's radiant smile next to Tracee's sparkling eyes, her words struck like a blade to the heart. Hundreds of thousands of comments poured in, not only mourning Warner, but also comforting Tracee, the co-star, who had once been like family to him. Many wrote, "We understand your pain. Thank you for sharing such a beautiful memory of Malcolm." Others confessed, "The way you speak about him shows this friendship was real, not just for promoting a show." What stood out was that Ross chose not to hide in silence. She knew the public was watching, waiting, and instead of retreating, she allowed them to see her bleeding heart. The media immediately picked up her post. People called it a moving farewell from a close friend. E! News described Ross as deeply grieving the tragic loss. Even the Associated Press, normally restrained in quoting celebrities, published her words verbatim. It showed that Ross's voice was not only personal, but had become part of the collective memory of Warner. Throughout her career, Tracee Ellis Ross had spoken openly about loss, but never had the public seen her in such pain. perhaps because Warner was not only a co-star, but also a part of her youth and her career. Together, they had built a dream television family and read between the lines. The filming days, the family dinner scenes, the line rehearsals, all of it suddenly became memory. With Warner's passing, Ross lost not just a colleague, but an irreplaceable piece of her past. The way Ross remembered Warner reflected who she truly is: profound, simple, and sincere. There were no endless paragraphs, no hollow slogans, just a few words enough for the world to feel her genuine affection. And within those words, one could sense her respect for Warner's family, a reminder that this grief was not hers alone, but belonged to those left behind. Yet ironically, that very sincerity became the spark of another controversy. After the tears and loving words, the public began to ask, did Tracee Ellis Ross attend Malcolm's funeral? Rumors brewed on social media and quickly exploded into a trending debate. Some claimed she was absent, others insisted she was banned by Warner's family, while some said she was tied up with work and unable to attend. What fueled the speculation was that no major outlet ever reported on a public funeral for Warner. His family had chosen privacy. But the vacuum of information was soon filled by social media theories ranging from plausible to absurd. And at the center of the storm was Tracee Ellis Ross, her presence or absence suddenly treated as the measure of friendship. This opened a new chapter in the story, how rumors can overshadow truth, turning a heartfelt farewell into fuel for controversy. And whether Ross's lack of a public appearance at the funeral truly meant she refused her old friend. The answers lie within the swirl of theories about her absence, a phenomenon that reveals how modern social media builds, bends, and distorts the narrative. Rumors about Tracee Ellis Ross not attending the funeral. Just days after news of Malcolm Jamal Warner's death was confirmed, questions began surfacing on social media. While colleagues, friends, and fans shared memories of him, another topic quietly emerged. Did Tracee Ellis Ross attend Warner's funeral? What made the speculation sharper was the lack of detailed media coverage. Warner's family chose to keep the ceremony private. That silence became fertile ground for rumors, and Ross, one of Warner's closest co-stars, suddenly found herself at the center of public debate. On Twitter, a few accounts claiming to be longtime fans of Read Between the Lines asked, "We've seen many people honoring Malcolm, but no photos of Tracee at the funeral. Was she absent?" The post quickly gained thousands of shares. Almost immediately, countless theories emerged, some plausible, others absurd, but all with one thing in common: no solid proof. The first theory suggested a simple explanation: Ross was too busy. As a television star, producer, and brand ambassador, her schedule was notoriously packed. Many speculated she might have been abroad filming or attending a pre-scheduled event, leaving her unable to return in time. This was the most acceptable reasoning yet. Some fans still bristled. If you're a true friend, you show up no matter what. Another more dramatic theory claimed Warner's family didn't want Ross there. Several Facebook posts even fabricated claims that Malcolm's wife banned Ross from attending to avoid excessive media attention. Despite zero evidence or journalistic confirmation, the conspiracy spread, quickly feeding on the public's fascination with behind-the-scenes riffs over simple truths. Some online voices dug deeper into history, pointing to Ross's decision to leave Read Between the Lines after its first season as a sign of distance between the two. They speculated that Warner had been disappointed by her departure, and that their friendship had quietly eroded. Of course, this had no basis. Warner himself had repeatedly praised Ross's professionalism and their lasting friendship. But in the world of social media, such speculative drama always travels faster than dry facts. Harsher critics accused Ross of being indifferent and disrespectful to an old friend by not being publicly seen at the funeral. These comments often came with the familiar refrain about Hollywood stars living detached from real feelings. In response, Ross's fans defended her. She wrote a deeply emotional tribute that matters more than physical presence. No one has the right to dictate how someone expresses grief. The spread of these theories reflected a familiar pattern in the social media era. When official information is scarce, the public fills the gaps with guesses, assumptions, and sometimes outright fiction. And because Tracee Ellis Ross is a high-profile figure, every action or even inaction becomes easy fuel for debate. Ironically, these rumors clashed directly with what Ross had openly expressed. While she was publicly mourning Warner with sincere words, social media was twisting her absence into evidence of a fractured friendship. That contradiction only amplified the noise, eventually forcing the press to step in and separate fact from fantasy. And that's the moment when the question must be asked clearly. What really happened? Did Tracee Ellis Ross truly refuse to attend the funeral as rumors suggest? Or was it all just a misunderstanding born from social media's hunger for drama? What is the truth? As rumors about whether Tracee Ellis Ross attended Malcolm Jamal Warner's funeral continued to spread, the most important step was to return to the facts. And the truth, as it often is, turned out to be far simpler than the dramatic scenarios spun by social media. First, no legitimate news outlet ever confirmed that Tracee Ellis Ross was banned or had refused to attend the funeral. Respected publications such as People Associated Press, ABC, and E! News all covered Warner's death and the reactions of his colleagues, including Ross. They highlighted her heartfelt Instagram tribute, but none mentioned anything about her presence or absence at the ceremony. If there had truly been a dispute or a significant incident involving Ross and Warner's family, the press would have reported it. Such a detail would have drawn global attention. Yet not a single line appeared. Second, Warner's family chose to hold a private service. There was no public funeral, no guest list released to the media, and no photographs from the event. Warner's body was returned to the United States after an autopsy in Costa Rica, and his family decided to keep all rituals closed. In that context, the question of who attended and who didn't became impossible to answer because the public simply had no access to official information. The fact that Ross was not photographed does not prove she was absent. It only shows that the family wanted to keep those final moments for themselves. Third, and most importantly, was what Ross expressed publicly. In her tribute, she called Warner her first TV husband, recalling memories from watching The Cosby Show as a child, to playing his on-screen wife in Read Between the Lines. She wrote, "My heart is broken. You made the world brighter. I send love to your family. I'm so sorry for this unimaginable loss." These were not polite platitudes but words of real pain. They reflected a lasting friendship, a deep connection between the two. With such a profound farewell, whether or not she stood before Warner's coffin at a private funeral could hardly be the measure of sincerity. In the age of social media, people often attach moral meaning to physical presence. Being there equals love, being absent equals indifference. But reality is not so simple. Everyone has their own way of facing loss. Some need to attend to see with their own eyes to believe. Others choose silence or express grief publicly through words, as Ross did. There is no single correct way. It is always a personal choice in the journey through sorrow. Consider the opposite scenario. If Ross had attended the funeral and been photographed by paparazzi, critics would likely have accused her of using a tragedy for PR. In the public eye, celebrities are rarely free from scrutiny, no matter what they do. That is why Ross's decision not to confirm her attendance can be seen as wise, respecting the Warner family's privacy while expressing her grief in the most genuine way she could. In short, there is no evidence that Tracee Ellis Ross refused to attend Malcolm Jamal Warner's funeral. The rumors were entirely speculation and social media theories. What is certain is this: Warner died in a tragic drowning accident, his funeral was private, and Ross shared a public tribute filled with love. Instead of arguing about her presence, what should be remembered is their long-standing friendship, a bond deep enough for Ross to write such heart-wrenching words and for millions to feel her pain alongside her. In the face of loss, the truth is sometimes so simple we struggle to accept it. Tracee Ellis Ross did not need to stand before a coffin to prove her love for Malcolm Jamal Warner. Her words, her memories, and her grief already painted a friendship that neither time nor death could erase. The story of Tracee Ellis Ross and the rumors surrounding Malcolm Jamal Warner's funeral reveals a simple yet profound truth. Friendship and connection are not defined by physical presence at a ceremony. Ross chose her own way to honor him, and that alone was enough to affirm the bond she shared with Warner. More importantly, what deserves to be preserved in memory is Malcolm Jamal Warner's artistic legacy and the warmth of his character. If you found this story meaningful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss our upcoming videos. Join us in continuing to share the stories of artists and the legacies they leave behind for the world.
All data, analysis, and commentary in this video are presented based on information available at the time of production. The content is subject to change over time and should not be considered a definitive forecast. There is still so much more to explore. stories of resilience, legacy, and truth. Feel free to dive into some of our top recommended videos now appearing on your screen.